Have you ever stopped to think about, well, the sheer scale of the global effort keeping us healthy? Especially for something like the flu, which feels so, common.
It's massive, isn't it? And it's not just a health thing. It's a huge growing economic sector, too.
Exactly. And that's what we're digging into today, the global influenza vaccine market.
We've got some really interesting forecasts here based on Cognitive Market Research's report looking out to 2033.
Right. So our mission is to unpack all that. Where's the growth? Who are the big players? And maybe uncover some, well, surprising trends along the way.
And the idea is by the end, you'll have a solid grasp of this market. Key figures, main insights, basically a shortcut to being well informed on this.
Okay, let's unpack this then.
Right.
Looking at the big picture first, the global flu vaccine market. It's really showing some impressive growth.
Yeah, the numbers are quite something.
Our source shows that back in 2021, global sales were already, nearly $6.6 billion?
6.58 billion, yeah.
And just looking ahead to 2025, that's projected to jump to almost $8.8 billion.
So decent growth even in the short term.
But here's where it gets really significant. By 2033, they're forecasting a staggering $15.5 billion.
Wow. That's more than double the 2021 figure.
It is. And it represents a pretty robust compound annual growth rate. They take a TR of about 7.4% just between 2025 and 2033.
You know, what's fascinating there isn't just the number itself, huge as it is, it's what that growth signals.
What do you mean?
Well, it suggests this isn't just about, reacting to flu season each year. It points to a much broader, more sustained investment in preventive health globally.
Ah, okay. So growing awareness, maybe better vaccine access.
Exactly. And probably a stronger commitment from governments and health organizations to protect populations proactively. It's a shift.
Okay, so the overall trend is definitely up. Strong growth globally.
Yeah.
But where is that growth actually, concentrated? Let's zoom in a bit on the regions.
Yeah, this is where the dynamics get quite interesting.
North America, for instance, it's still holding the biggest slice of the pie, right?
Absolutely. It led the market in 2021 with about $2.6 billion.
And that's projected to grow to over $5.6 billion by 2033.
Correct. Still growing strong, maintaining a solid CAGR of around 6.6%.
And within North America, I assume the U.S. is the main driver?
Yes, definitely. The U.S. market alone is expected to reach over $4 billion by 2033. Canada is also showing very consistent growth, nearly doubling its market size in that same time frame.
Okay. No huge surprises there. But you mentioned interesting dynamics.
Well, yeah. If you look deeper into the North American figures, Mexico stands out.
Oh, how so?
It started from a smaller base, obviously around 230 million in 2021, but its projected growth rate, its CAGR, is over 8.1%. That's the fastest in North America.
Huh, 8.1%. That is fast.
Yeah.
Faster than the U.S. or Canada.
Right. It suggests there might be significant acceleration happening there, maybe expanding government health programs or infrastructure improvements paying off.
Interesting. Okay, let's hop across the Atlantic. What about Europe?
Europe's also putting up very solid numbers. Its market was around 1.85 billion in 2021.
And that's also set to more than double.
Yeah, projected to hit over 4.19 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR of just over 7%. So really healthy growth there, too.
And Germany, I imagine, is a big part of that.
For sure. Germany's a major player, expected to reach about 870 million by 2033. But again, look closer.
More standouts.
Definitely. Within Europe, you see some countries with even higher growth rates. Spain, for example, is projected at over 8.5% CAGR.
Great.
And Denmark is even faster, pushing 9.15% annually.
Wow. Denmark at over 9%. That's significant.
It really is. And it kind of highlights a trend, doesn't it? It's not just the biggest economies driving things. You see these specific countries really accelerating.
Right. Maybe due to focused national vaccination campaigns or, higher public uptake.
Could be a mix of factors,
Yeah.
but it raises that question, While these established markets are growing steadily, where's the really explosive growth happening? Which regions are setting the future pace?
And that brings us to Asia Pacific, I guess.
Exactly. If you're looking for where the market is truly taking off, it's Asia Pacific.
Okay, lay the numbers on us.
So the region started at about $1.3 billion in 2021.
Right.
It's projected to soar to nearly 3.8 billion, 3.75 billion to be precise, by 2033.
Okay, that's almost tripling.
And get this, the CAGR for the region is 9.01%. That's the highest of any region globally.
9%. Okay, that is definitely setting the pace. Who's driving that within Asia Pacific? China.
China is a huge part of it, yes. It dominates the region in terms of market size, and it's also growing very fast, about 9.6% CAGR, expected to hit around 1.35 billion by 2033.
Makes sense. But is that the whole story?
Not quite. Here's the real aha moment, I think.
Go on.
India. India actually shows the highest growth rate within Asia-Pacific and potentially globally based on these figures.
Higher than China's 9.6%.
Yes, India's CAGR is projected at a staggering 10.22%.
10%. Wow. So it's starting smaller but growing even faster.
Precisely. From about 166 million in 2021 to over 530 million projected by 2033. That kind of speed. It points to massive potential being unlocked.
What do you think is behind that?
It's likely a combination of things, right? Maybe stronger government pushes for vaccination, perhaps improved healthcare access, reaching more people, maybe even growth in domestic vaccine production.
Yeah, that makes sense. And growth like that in India,
Mm.
it could really shift the global demand picture over the next decade.
Absolutely. It's a major development to watch.
So we've covered the big players and the fastest growers. But what about some of the other regions? They might be smaller markets, but are they also seeing growth?
Oh, yes, definitely. While they don't have the sheer volume of North America or Asia Pacific, the growth story continues. Take South America.
Okay. What are we seeing there?
The overall market was around 316 million in 2021. It's forecasted to reach over 790 million by 2033.
So more than doubling there, too.
Right, with a CAGR close to 8%, 7.95% to be exact. Brazil is the key driver there, growing at about 8.6% annually.
Nearly 8% growth. That's still very solid momentum. What about the Middle East?
Similar story, a promising trajectory. The market size is expected to jump from roughly 276 million in 2021 to over 714 million by 2033.
And the growth rate?
Also, right around 8% CAGR. Saudi Arabia is the largest contributor, growing at about 8.25%.
Okay. Any specific standouts there, like we saw in Europe or North America?
Actually, yes. One detail that caught my eye in the data was Qatar.
Oh.
It posted the highest CAGR in the Middle East, over 9.3%.
Higher than Saudi Arabia. Interesting.
Yeah, it suggests maybe some really focused strategic investment in public health infrastructure there, perhaps linked to their broader economic development goals.
Makes sense. Okay, that leaves Africa. It's often the smallest market in these global views.
It is currently the smallest, yes, starting from about $191 million in 2021.
It's still growing.
Still growing, projected to reach over 442 million by 2033. The CAGR is a bit lower than other emerging regions, around 6.7%, but still positive growth.
And key countries there.
The report highlights Nigeria and South Africa as the main contributors. So even in the smallest regional market, there's still expansion happening, signaling efforts to improve public health access.
Okay, so let's try to wrap this up. If we pull back and look at everything we've just unpacked, what's the main takeaway?
I think the clearest takeaway is that the global flu vaccine market is incredibly dynamic and on a really strong upward path. It's not just inching along. It's robust growth.
Driven by, well, established players like North America still performing strongly.
Right, and Europe accelerating significantly.
But also this really explosive growth, especially in Asia Pacific. And India, as you said, being a real aha moment with that 10% growth rate.
Exactly, and it's important to remember this isn't just about dollars and cents. These numbers reflect a real global shift towards prioritizing preventative health.
More awareness, better access, strategic investment, all those things we talked about.
Yeah. So having this knowledge, it gives you a window into these bigger global health and economic trends. It's more than just the flu shot itself.
It's the whole system behind it, the infrastructure, the priorities.
The shifting landscape, where investment is flowing, which regions are rising in influence. It's a dynamic picture.
So as we look out towards 2033, and maybe even beyond, it leaves you wondering, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, what could these shifts mean long term? For how new vaccines get developed, or for global health equity, making sure everyone benefits, or even just how we handle things like seasonal health campaigns right here in our own communities.
That's a great point. These market trends could have ripple effects on all those things. Definitely something to keep watching.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're getting into something that, well, affects millions every year. The Global Influenza Vaccine Market.
It sounds straightforward, maybe just a seasonal thing, but it's actually incredibly complex.
Exactly. It's this huge global health operation, way more than just getting a shot. Our mission today, to really unpack what's driving it, what the big challenges are.
And crucially, where it's heading. The future stuff is quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. We're drawing on various sources, including some great insights from cognitive market research's report on this.
Mm-hmm.
So, why should you care? Well, everyone knows the flu, right?
Hmm.
But understanding what goes into making and getting these vaccines out there.
It tells you a lot about global health, about innovation, about how prepared we are for, health
All
challenges.
right, so let's start with the why. What's really pushing this market's growth? The core reason seems to be the sheer number of people getting sick with influenza globally.
It is, and the numbers are frankly staggering. The World Health Organization estimates, 3 to 5 million cases of severe illness every single year.
Wow. 3 to 5 million severe cases. That's a huge burden.
It's a constant pressure on health systems worldwide. And it's not just the virus itself, it's how our world works now.
How so?
Well, think about it. More people living in cities, closer together, global travel connecting everywhere instantly, and the flu virus itself is constantly mutating, changing its disguise.
So those factors kind of amplify the spread.
Precisely. They create this perfect storm for the virus, making updated vaccines essential every year. It's this ongoing chase.
And for certain people, it's not just about avoiding feeling rough for a week, is it? I'm thinking about vulnerable populations.
Absolutely critical for young children under 5, for elderly people, and anyone with chronic conditions like heart or lung disease.
Yeah.
The vaccine is often the most effective protection they have against really serious complications, hospitalization, or worse.
So it's literally a lifesaver for many.
It can be, yes. And we're seeing growing awareness of this impact, particularly in regions maybe you wouldn't immediately think of.
Like where?
Places like Southern Asia, Southeast Asia, Western Africa, Central America, the Caribbean. Awareness is increasing, driving up demand for vaccines there.
Okay, so individual awareness is rising. What about bigger picture stuff, like global health efforts?
That's the other major driver. Huge collaborative efforts involving governments, international health bodies like the WHO, and the vaccine manufacturers themselves.
Right.
They're working together on immunization programs. A key example is the WHO's Global Influenza Surveillance and Response System, or GISRS.
What does that do exactly?
It's basically a global network monitoring flu strains. They make recommendations twice a year about which strains should go into the seasonal vaccines for the northern and southern hemispheres.
So they tell manufacturers like CSL Seqirus what to aim for.
Exactly. It gives them the lead time they need to produce the right vaccine. And these initiatives aren't just talk. They often involve funding, logistics.
Making sure the vaccines actually get to people.
Yes, increasing awareness, access, and uptake, especially in developing economies. It expands the whole market.
Okay, so strong drivers, but it can't all be smooth sailing. What are the main roadblocks this market faces?
Oh, there are definitely significant hurdles. Manufacturing these vaccines, for starters, is incredibly complex.
How so? It seems like we've been doing it for ages.
We have, but it's a lengthy, highly regulated biological process. It needs specialized facilities, expertise, very precise conditions. It's not like making widgets.
So scaling up quickly is hard, like if there's a sudden surge or a pandemic.
Extremely challenging. You can't just flip a switch and double production overnight. It takes time and massive investment.
And then there are the logistics, getting the vaccine from the factory to the clinic.
Right. Especially with some of the newer technologies like mRNA vaccines, they often need ultra-cold storage.
The cold chain, yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds expensive and complicated.
It is. Maintaining that specific, often freezing temperature all the way, it adds cost and complexity. And it limits where you can easily distribute them, particularly in areas without reliable electricity or refrigeration.
That makes sense. Any other bottlenecks?
Yes. Another key one is capacity in related industries. Think about CDMOs, contract development, and manufacturing organizations.
The companies that pharma firms hire to help make the vaccines.
Exactly. If those specialized manufacturers don't have enough capacity, or if there are issues with supplies they need, like vials or bioreactor components, it creates delays. Production gets held up, delivery gets pushed back.
The choke point in the supply chain.
Pretty much. And on top of all that, there's the simple fact that demand is seasonal, peaking in the run-up to flu season. Planning production around that isn't always easy.
Right. Okay, that leads us perfectly into maybe the biggest disruptor recently, COVID-19. How did that pandemic change things for flu vaccines?
COVID. It had a massive and somewhat unexpected impact. It acted as a huge catalyst.
In what way?
It basically supercharged public awareness of respiratory viruses in general. And people suddenly became much more concerned about catching anything that could land them in the hospital.
The whole twindemic fear. Flu plus COVID overwhelming hospitals.
Exactly. So we saw this unprecedented surge in demand for flu shots. Individuals wanted protection, healthcare systems push it hard to reduce overall strain.
Were there concrete signs of this surge?
Oh, yeah. Private hospitals reported big jumps in flu vaccine requests, and you saw pharmaceutical companies reacting too.
Like Pfizer and BioNTech?
Yes, they started working on combination vaccines, one shot for both flu and COVID-19. That showed the industry anticipating a longer-term shift.
So was it just a temporary spike during the pandemic?
Interestingly, no. While the absolute peak might have passed, the overall demand for flu vaccines has stayed strong, even post-pandemic.
Why do you think that is?
It seems the pandemic created a more lasting focus on preventative health. People are just more proactive now about protecting themselves from respiratory illnesses. It's become more ingrained.
A fundamental shift in mindset, maybe.
I think so, which leads us nicely into the future because that consistent demand is fueling a lot of innovation.
Okay, so looking ahead, what are the big trends shaping the next phase of the flu vaccine market?
Well, the really big one, kind of the holy grail, is the push for a universal flu vaccine.
Universal, meaning one shot works against all strains, or for longer.
Ideally, both. A vaccine that offers broader protection against multiple strains, potentially even across different subtypes, and gives immunity that lasts much longer than just one season.
Wow, that would be a complete game changer. No more yearly shots, maybe?
That's the ultimate goal. It would revolutionize flu prevention.
And what technology is driving that? Is it the mRNA tech we heard so much about with COVID?
That's definitely part of it. mRNA platforms offer speed and flexibility, but also recombinant DNA technologies,
Yeah.
cell-based production methods.
So moving away from the traditional egg-based production.
Exactly. Egg-based production has served us well, but it's relatively slow, depends on egg supply. And sometimes the virus mutates while growing in the eggs, making the vaccines slightly less effective. These newer methods aim to be faster, more adaptable, and potentially more precise.
Faster, more adaptable. That
Right.
sounds promising. Anything else on the horizon?
Yes, definitely. There's work on making vaccines more temperature stable. Getting rid of that tricky cold chain requirement would be huge.
Especially for distribution in, say, lower income countries.
Precisely. And also, alternative delivery methods, think nasal sprays instead of needles. Again, that could significantly boost uptake, especially for kids or people who dislike injections.
Nasal sprays. Easier administration, potentially wider reach. Okay, so wrapping these future trends together, what's the big picture?
The big picture is that these technological advancements offer massive opportunities. They could genuinely revolutionize how we make vaccines, making the process faster, cheaper, more responsive.
Improving accessibility worldwide.
Absolutely. This shift towards potentially more durable, broader, maybe even universal vaccines, it really positions the influenza vaccine market for significant long-term growth and impact.
It's not just tweaking the current system. It's aiming for a whole new level of protection.
That's right, building a much more robust defense against the flu for everyone.
What a journey. We've gone from the basic drivers, millions getting sick every year, through the complex hurdles of making and shipping vaccines, the unexpected jolt from COVID, and now into this really exciting future.
It really does highlight how everything's connected, doesn't it? Global health challenges, cutting-edge science, manufacturing logistics, even just public awareness. It all comes together with something like the flu vaccine.
It's a fantastic example of science meeting a real-world need.
And the ingenuity involved in constantly trying to stay ahead of the virus.
Absolutely. So let's leave our listeners with this thought. With this major push towards universal vaccines, maybe nasal sprays, more stable formulations, how might flu season look different for you in the coming years?
And maybe think bigger, too. What could these vaccine tech advancements mean for tackling other infectious diseases down the line? How might it change our whole approach?
Lots to think about. That's all for this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.